Welcome back. All right, today we're tackling a big one, a title that's basically the gold standard for insight in one of the world's most influential books. So who really was the wisest man in the Bible?
Now, when I ask that, I bet one name just pops right into your head, right? A name that's pretty much become shorthand for wisdom. But what if the obvious answer isn't the whole answer?
Yep, that's the one. King Solomon. I mean, his stories are legendary. His wisdom is celebrated across the board. But here's the twist. As we're going to see, his life was also packed with these unbelievable contradictions. So, what's the deal? Is this just a straightforward story about a wise guy? Or is there something way more complicated under the surface? Okay, so first, let's build the case for Solomon. And believe me, it is a strong case. To really get why he has this reputation, you've got to understand two things: where his wisdom came from and the crazy way he put it to use.
It all kicks off with this incredible gift from God. The story goes, God shows up in a dream and basically says, Solomon, ask for whatever you want. Now, instead of asking for money or power, which, let's be honest, a lot of us would, he asked for a discerning heart so he can lead his people well. God was so impressed that he gave him the wisdom plus all the riches and honor anyway. So we're not talking about someone who just read a lot of books. This was like a divine superpower.
And this is that wisdom in action. It's his most famous moment for sure. The setup seems impossible, right? You've got two women, one baby, no DNA test, no witnesses. Solomon's solution to just cut the baby in half is shocking. But it's not about cruelty. It's this brilliant, high-stakes psychological test. He knew human nature so well, he knew the real mom's love would force her to give up her claim just to save her child's life. Genius.
And it wasn't just these big, dramatic judgments. A lot of Solomon's wisdom was written down. He's the guy traditionally behind the book of Proverbs, which is just full of these short, practical, and honestly, timeless little bits of advice on how to live. This quote here, it's a perfect example of that kind of practical, emotional intelligence he had. So the case for Solomon being the wisest man seems pretty open and shut, doesn't it? I mean, a divine gift, brilliant rulings, a philosopher king. What more could you want? Well, this is where the story takes a hard left turn. We're about to see a whole other side to his legacy, one that's not about wisdom, but about some really, really big mistakes. Which leads to the big question, right? If he was so wise, then what on earth happened in the second half of his life? How does a guy with a God-given wise and discerning heart end up making choices that would literally tear his kingdom in two?
And look at this. This lays the whole paradox out right in front of us. On one hand, you've got the guy who built God's sacred temple. But on the other hand, this is the same guy who married 700 foreign wives. Yeah, 700, and ended up worshiping their gods, which was a huge no-no. He could judge other people's problems with razor-sharp insight, but his own personal life was a total mess of over-the-top indulgence. He wrote Proverbs about being humble while he was stacking up insane amounts of wealth. How can these two people be the same person?
Okay, to even begin to untangle this puzzle that is Solomon, we've got to take a step back and ask a bigger question. What does the Bible actually mean when it talks about wisdom? Because spoiler alert, it's not just about having a high IQ. Right, so the original Hebrew word is chokmah, and this is key. We think of wisdom as, being super smart, knowing a lot of facts, but chokmah is way more hands-on. It's better translated as skill in living. It's about knowing how to do things, how to navigate relationships, how to handle life. It's wisdom you can actually use. So chokmah is a mix of things. It's practical expertise, and Solomon had that in spades. He was a great ruler. But, and this is the most important part, it's all supposed to be rooted in a reverence for God. And if you lose that foundation, the whole thing can just fall apart. And maybe that's exactly what happened to Solomon. He was a genius at the practical stuff, but he failed, spectacularly when it came to the moral discernment and reverence parts.
Okay, so after all that, where do we land on our original question? Was Solomon the wisest man ever, or was he more of a tragic figure who was given this amazing gift and just threw it all away? Let's try to put all the pieces together.
Think about it. His wisdom came directly from God, but he ended up disobeying that same God. His public judgments were legendary, but his private life was a train wreck of bad judgment. He left us these incredible books of wisdom, but his political legacy was a divided kingdom that crumbled right after he died. It's like for every single point for him, there's an equally powerful point against him.
And that kind of changes the whole conversation, doesn't it? Maybe trying to label him the wisest is just the wrong question. Maybe he's not supposed to be a symbol of perfect wisdom. Maybe he's a cautionary tale, a story that shows you can have all the knowledge in the world, but if you don't have character and obedience to back it up, it can all go so wrong.
And that's really the big idea to chew on here. Solomon's story makes us look past just ranking people. It suggests that real wisdom, that chokmah, isn't some title you get to hold on to forever. It's a skill you have to practice, day in and day out, mixing what you know with humility and your smarts with integrity. So maybe the question we should be asking isn't who was the wisest, but rather, what does it even mean to be wise in the first place?